If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Obviously, while everybody's distracted by everything under the sun, because there's so much going on, I think we all can agree, even as truthers, we're completely exhausted because it's never ending every day. Every day you think maybe more and more people will wake up and they'll pull back, but they're not. Their foot's on the gas. They're obviously making the C-19 propaganda worse than ever before. We have the racial unjust, movement, the BLM movement, which is taking away free speech, which just adds into the stuff I've covered for years with the LGBT, ties in perfectly to take away free speech and label everything as hate speech. A crazy time to be alive, right? But you know what happens during these crazy times to be alive? They always pass these bills underneath right under your eyes. You wouldn't even realize they were happening because everyone's too distracted to know, and it's never going to make the actual news. So when I saw this at first, I said, wow, do we actually have good news? No. Could we? And that's in regards to mandatory microchipping. Oh, that's right. Mandatory microchipping in Michigan has gone under a bill in which it's not mandatory, it's only voluntary, but this is what they do. You know why? Because if you read between the fine lines, you'll see that it is mandatory to be microchipped at certain places that you work. And I'll read you the bill and I'll show you, but this is the propaganda that they pop out, and they say, if you adopted your pet from a rescue shelter, then you probably have a microchip embedded just beneath the skin or on the back of your pet's neck. It's a tiny radio frequency known as an RFID chip that's no larger than a grain of rice. It helps you find your furry friend if you ever get lost. Now, before I continue forward with this bill, which I have to show you, if you Google microchip right now, and go to news on Google, look at all the stories that are popping up. 4th of July weekend, one of the most important weekends to get your dog or your cat microchip. Make sure your pet's chipped. Make sure meanwhile, we're supposed to be, for the most part, under, what is the term? Under prisons terms here, locked up inside. But they're using it again as another way to get your pet's microchip. Now, it's not because they want to know where your cat is or your dog is because they want to come and steal him. Okay, the witches already know, and the local communities and the covens, and do that on their own. It's done because they want you to feel at ease with the chip so that they can say, dogs and cats have been microchipped for decades now. No one's gotten sick. Nothing's gone wrong. And why should humans feel it would be any different for them? Hey, what happens if your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, your wife, your girlfriend, anyone goes missing? Well, we wouldn't even need the police. We wouldn't need an investigation because the government would have the chip in them, the RFID chip, and we'd be able to go find them, right? And that ties in also with what we see going on with the defund the police, the removal of the police, and the bringing in of the military. What do you think with the military, that they'd be doing cold cases here, that everything would be like the ID channel? No, if everybody's chipped, then they can go, well, we can find everybody. And except, of course, in cases where they don't want anyone to find anything out, and they'll say the person removed the chip from the person's flesh. And they'll have their BS answers for all that stuff. But the whole reason for them pushing this with animals isn't because they care about your pet safety. And way too many times when I do these videos about the microchip in pets, people comment because they think for themselves as far as how they emotionally feel. Nobody loves animals more than I do. Nobody. Okay? And I'm not saying that to sound arrogant or something, okay? Now, I don't like snakes. That's about it. But any animal, I see any wounded animal, I'm running to help it. A bird, it doesn't matter. I love animals, okay? So this doesn't have anything to do with, my dog ran away from home. The whole point of the microchip isn't so that you could find your pet. It's to ease you into the transition of getting the chip in your own body, okay? So they're saying now in a strange twist, you could have a microchip just like an animal. And some companies have adopted the tracking technology in lieu of keys or traditional building access badges. This is stuff I've obviously covered. They say last week, however, the Michigan House of Representatives took a preemptive strike against the technology, passing a bill to make the microchips voluntary in the state. Remember, all these things that come to pass, they're going to tell you it's voluntary. If they ever force things on people, that makes people question stuff. When they tell you it's voluntary, they use mind control tactics to convince you that it's what you need. That way, they just go, well, we didn't force it on you, just like a vax, any type of shot they give you, which is what they're going to do to start with the C-19, and with stuff like this. They're not going to go, you have to go to work, you have to have this in your body. No. First, they're going to have it in people, and they're going to continue to promote it, and they're going to say, look how easy it is, right? You lose your key card. Look, your friend didn't catch on fire because he had the microchip in him. These crazy Christians who think it's the mark of the beast or anything, they're out of their minds, right? And that's what they do. However, as I continue to read this, listen. They say the Microchip Protection Act would allow Michigan employers to use microchipping, but could in no way force employees to participate. Quote, with the way technology has increased over the years, and as it continues to grow, it's important Michigan job providers balance the interests of the company with their employees' expectations of privacy. That's according to the Republican Representative Bronna Kale, who sponsored the bill. And she said, microchipping has been brought up in many conversations as companies across the country are exploring cost-effective ways to increase workplace efficiency, right? And that'll be another trigger word when it comes to microchipping in the RFID chip. Affecting things, right? As the country bleeds money out, so they claim, with the C-19. They say worker microchips first made headlines in 2017 with 50 out of 80 employees at a Wisconsin company called 3 Square Market, which I covered, voluntarily opted into the implant at a chip party. And they had a microchip party. That's how unreal it is. And I covered it. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's completely embarrassing. They said in a press release at the time, the company sent employees at the option to voluntarily partake in it or not. Okay? Now, this is where it's funny, because this is where the BS comes in. Because remember, all the stuff they spew is nothing but BS, right? This is the bill. And for anyone who wants to look it up, it's House Bill number 5672. 5672. March 17, 2020 was introduced, and it just was passed. A bill to prohibit employers from requiring employees and prospective employees to have devices implanted or otherwise incorporated into their bodies as a condition of employment or any employment benefit. To prohibit employers from discriminating in the terms, conditions, and benefits of employment against employees who refuse to have a device implanted or otherwise incorporated into their bodies, and to provide remedies, right? So you would hear that and you would say, okay, well, that sounds good, right? Then I don't have to have it forced to me. First of all, how in the world this is even a bill or something that's being passed or talked about is insane to start. So then they go through what that means. They say, one, Microchip Protection Act, as used in the act of a device that includes any acoustic, optical, mechanical, electronic, medical, or molecular device. Employer means a person that has one or more employees, blah, blah, blah. They go through the legalities or the BS legalities of it and how you can, of course, opt out. And then, because then as you scroll down, it says this. An employer may, as a condition of employment in a particular position or as a condition of receiving additional compensation or other benefits, require an employee or prospective employee to comply with a court order that directs the employee or prospective employee to take an action. Huh? So what's the point of the bill? The bill is saying that it's voluntary, right? Because nobody reads through this. It's like when you go through a terms of service thing. Does anyone really read it? Oh, you've joined oh yeah, nobody reads it. because it's all mumbo jumbo stuff half the time, and it's all the same BS that they constantly spew. But look at this. This whole bill is supposed to be that it's voluntary to get the chip, that a workplace can't enforce it. Oh, but wait, as you scroll down, an employer may, as a condition of employment or as a condition of receiving additional employment or a raise, in other words, at your position, require an employee or prospective employee to comply with a court order that directs the employee to take an action. So in other words, if a court order, if your boss comes up to you and tells you have to get the chip, and they have a court order, you have to get it or you lose your job. Now, who do you think the Masonic court order, which is run by these Zionists, run by all these people, who are they going to side with? They're going to side with, is Bagelville going to side with you? Are the Freemasons going to side with you? Right? And this is what they do, mind control tactics like this, because they don't want people to feel like anything's being forced upon them. Right? They're trying to do it right now with the masks. We don't want to force it. We don't want to force it. We might have to force it, though, because more and more people are getting sick and people are getting fed up and they're going, well, if you want to go back to normalcy, you'll have to wear it. People are like, oh, okay, I guess I will. The same is going to be done with the chip. So they passed this bill saying it's voluntary. Right there in fine print, which you can see, it says that a court order can direct the employee or its prospective employee to have to wear it. That's the world that we're living in now. That's how insane it is. So the whole point of the bill is it's void. It means nothing. It's bull crap. Just like everything else, these bills and these laws, it's bull crap. They want you to voluntarily do all these things. And they are going to make people voluntarily do it through mind control, because that's how they work. They trick everyone into this stuff. Everyone. They don't have to come out and force it, because what they do is they scare you into it, they fear you into it, and they tell you it's in your best interest, and they squeeze you out like they're doing now with the C-19, with the mask, and what's going to come next, the shot. They're not going to make it mandatory off the bat, but then they'll come out and they'll say that there's so many people who aren't doing it, it's not going away, and then those people are, the 70% of the people who get the shot are going to go nuts over the 30% who don't and say, fine, lock them up, imprison them. They're bad citizens. They're bad people. The world is an utter joke. The chip is just going to be normalized. And like I said, all you got to do is Google the microchip and look at all the stuff with the pets. Ooh, it's the 4th of July. Dogs are going to run away because they're going to hear fireworks. I didn't even know they're allowed to shoot fireworks off? I thought people weren't even allowed to leave their home. I mean, I don't know, depending on the state you're in, but of course they want your pet's microchip because they want to use it as a way to convince you and to trick you into getting it put in your body. Because they'll go, look, nothing happened. Yeah, do you think the NSA wants to follow your dog and your cat around? The only people who want to follow your dog and your cat around are your local Satanists and witches because they want to sacrifice them. Okay, the government's got bigger plans. They want to sacrifice you, not them. Sick world, folks. I remind everyone, please check out my website at callforunuprising.com. $2.99 a month. Make sure you check it out. It's well worth it. And I'll thank the patrons and everyone else out there. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. God bless you and your families.